Well, hi, Terry Hall, your Vice President for Student Affairs. I'm here with our Provost, or our Executive Vice President and Provost, Rick Muma. We're here this afternoon to talk about the change in reporting of student affairs, reporting to academic affairs and specifically to Rick, to see what kind of questions you have, what kind of concerns you have, to see if we can answer those for you. Personally, I just want you to know, and honestly, I want you to know that I'm excited about this move. I think it's going to be good for the division. I certainly think it's going to be good for me personally and professionally. We're going to have access to all the right people to help us be even more successful and connecting every student and helping them be successful and graduate. So I have no worries and concerns about it, but wanted to give you a chance to see what kind of questions you have. And so I'll let Rick say hi to all of you, and we'll see if you have any questions after that.
Well, hello, everyone. It's good to be here to talk to you today or address some of your questions. And I know many of you, some very well, others not as well. I'm looking forward to getting to know everyone better. I just wanted to let everybody know sort of the purpose of why President Golden has made this decision to have an executive vice president and provost and have different areas now report up in that area of responsibility. And the main thing is to coordinate student services. And you know as well as I do, and particularly on your side, but also on the academic affairs side, there's a lot of student services that sometimes are duplicative, that could be better coordinated, other activities that we could actually leverage our resources together. I always tease Terry, she's always got lots more money, so we could, maybe have a little bit more of her money for food in particular. I'm just teasing. But anyway, my point is that we have, when we have more, we can scale more, and that's always a good thing. So, and I just want to let you know that you probably in your day-to-day, what you're used to in your division, that's probably not going to change that much. I think what you might see some changes in is better coordination of how we do things, not just student services, but also assessment. We can bring more resources into that and help each other in those goals when we get towards accreditation. Requirements that we have to report on this next year, obviously be coordinating there. So, and then also new to this reporting structure is the military veterans and first responder area that is going to be reporting up into the executive vice president area. So that also will be helpful too, because I know there's a lot of crossover there and a lot of support that could be provided, vice versa. I want to let you know that I really truly believe that you all are doing great work. I have been trying to work with you all since I got in the Office of Academic Affairs. We've done some things with student involvement, developed a leadership certificate, initiatives in service learning. I think there's some opportunities there in terms of new certificates for student activities kinds of work, and we accomplished that when we developed the leadership certificate. So those are the kind of things that I think that we can work on together, and then other ideas that you have along the way. I am going to always defer to you all as the expert in student affairs, because that's your work, that's what you have gone to school for and spent your profession in. So I don't think that I'm going to come in with some sort of new philosophy about how to run a student affairs division, because that's not my style, and that's not anything that I would ever do. So, and then just so you know, I do have a little bit of educational background that's real similar to student affairs, personnel management, and that sort of thing, because I have a PhD in higher education administration. There's a lot of overlap there. So I've actually, in my doctoral work, actually focused around some of my work in student affairs too. So some of you may not know me that well. I've been at the university almost 25 years. It's a long time. I can't believe I've been here that long. I started my career as a PA in Galveston, Texas. I went to the University of Texas Medical Branch, got my PA degree there, and then went to the University of Texas Health Science Center in Houston and got my master's of public health. And then moved around a little bit, started my teaching career at the UT Galveston PA program, and then went to St. Louis University, finished my doctoral degree at the University of Missouri St. Louis, and then came to Wichita State. And I've been here ever since. Started out as a faculty member in the PA program, became a department chair of that PA department, and also for about 5 years was the chair of public health sciences. Since I had that background in public health, they needed some leadership in that area. And then I finally entered into central administration about 10 years ago as an associate vice president. And I was first in charge of doing the kind of work that Linnea does now and dealing with student issues. And so I worked a lot at that time with folks in student affairs and other folks around student services across the campus. And then I got into assessment and accreditation and then enrollment, and then somehow I got into this position. So I felt like I've had a great experience at the university. I've enjoyed all these opportunities, and I'm looking forward to learning more about what you all do and how I can help you work with Terry to make things better for the benefit of the students and, of course, the faculty and staff and the overall university. So that's what I'd like to say in a nutshell.
Thanks, Rick. So one of the things I love about Rick is that what you see is what you get with him. He's an earnest, straightforward. He likes
Diet Dr. Pepper.
Honest, straightforward. There really aren't any hidden agendas with him. You know where you stand with him, and makes it easy to work with him, and even to disagree when we need to. So, what kind of questions do you have? Do you have any concerns? This is the time to ask us and let us assuade any issues you might have.
So there is a question there.
Is there?
Answer that? Yeah.
What's the question? Aaron's in here with me. Aaron, what's the question?
It's for Dr. Muma. How do you envision student affairs mission of connecting every student blending with the mission of academic affairs instead of people's missions?
Mm-hmm.
That is squarely in the middle of what we also hold near and dear to our heart in academic affairs. And I kind of would just talk about that in terms of overall retention. So, matter of fact, when Terry came here, I heard her talking about that in her interview and just different ways about connecting to every student. She probably doesn't remember this, but she brought her ideas of what she was going to do in student affairs, and she didn't initially have that connecting every student in her like tagline or whatever. I said, Terry, I kind of like that connecting. Why don't you put that in there? So, yeah. So anyway, it just fits squarely in our work and retention across the university. And the strategic enrollment management plan has a goal focused around retention. So we have worked with your offices to help figure out how we get access to student data to make sure that they're being connected into activities, because we know, as you know, the more connections, the likely they're to stay. I think there's a lot of opportunity here. It's one of our areas that is probably been the most difficult metric to change over time. And when we're all looking at retention, we're looking at first-year students, but we have 14,500 students that we also need to be thinking about retaining. And so that's an area I think that there's opportunity to look at sophomores, juniors, and seniors. We have made progress at the university from everybody's work, including the work of student affairs on our graduation rate. And that's ultimately the whole reason to be focused around this. And So we're now at 50%, over 50% of our students are now graduating. We started 10 years ago and only 40% of our students are graduating. But, you know, we still have room. But that number, 50%, I know that might sound low to folks, but for the kind of university that we are, it's actually a little bit on the high side. But that doesn't mean we need to stop our work and making sure students are retained. It's even more important now with COVID-19 and figuring out creative ways to actually get our returning students to come back. That's where we're really struggling right now in our enrollment for the fall is our returning students. And that's what we're talking about here in terms of making sure that we get students back on campus, back on track, getting connected. Our group is actually working on a new dashboard, and it kind of got a little bit sidetracked with COVID-19 of new metrics to look at retention beyond just the first year student, because that's really where most of our students are. We understand that the first year student is our bread and butter, but we also need to pay attention to other segments of our population. So, Gabe, thanks for that question. Looking forward to talking to you more about that.
Hey, Rick, I've heard from afterwards that they see this as by reporting to you in academic affairs that shows that student affairs is devalued on campus. I don't feel that way. How would you respond to that kind of concern?
Nope, I don't think that it is at all. Matter of fact, Terry's position on the executive team is not going to change, and we're getting ready to release the new org chart, and you'll see that that's not the case at all. And again, I'll just go back to you're not going to see a lot of difference in your day-to-day reporting, and even Terry's not. She's still going to have access to the president. She's still going to have access to whoever she needs access to. This really is for us to make it clear that we're working together for the benefit of the students.
And Rick, with us reporting to Rick, he's in charge of about 3/4 of the university at this point in time in terms of staffing and budgetary responsibilities. So by us reporting to Rick, we're aligning with the greatest, even though he says I have the money, I don't. He has the money in terms of resources on campus. And so I think it's an opportunity for us to work together and figure out how to use our resources better. He's reading the quotes.
Yeah. So Ray, you're welcome. The question or the comment is thanks for attending the vigil that we had last Friday. And yeah, absolutely. I'm here to support all of our students, all of our faculty and staff. And you often see me at many of these kinds of things. I think it's important. I think it's important for senior level administrators to be at these events. It sends a message to everybody that's there. So yeah, happy to attend as many as I can. I want to just tell you, my spouse Rick, COVID has kind of spoiled us a little bit because we've been attending virtual events. Some of those have been in the evenings, but most of them have been during the day. And he's like, well, that's kind of a benefit of what's going on right now. I said, I know, but that's going to change soon. So get used to it. And just kidding aside, he's very supportive. And you know how he is. He's a talker and a sponge for everybody's issues, and that's the great thing about him. So we're quite the team. Actually, he's a little bit more of a social person than I am.
Rick, they may not know about the scholarship that you established with Rick.
The scholarship and
in ODI, yep.
Yeah. So about 2011, some of you may remember a student who was a gay student at Rutgers. He was a violinist. Tyler DeClemente, I think is his last name, and just a super talented high school student. All well in his years of schooling, and a very talented violinist. And he went to Rutgers. I believe he got a scholarship to go there, and was doing well. And he was filmed without his knowledge in his dorm room in an intimate situation with another, one of his friends. He was gay, and that got posted out on the internet and Facebook, and it went viral, and that was just devastating to him, and he committed suicide. And that just stuck with Rick and I, because this Tyler was about the same age as our oldest son, Drew, who's also gay, and getting ready to go off to college. And we wanted to make sure that we could do something. And that also kicked off the It Gets Better campaign nationally that Dan Savage launched, and others. And we didn't really know what to do, but we wanted to do something. So we established a scholarship back in 2011. It's called the Equality Scholarship. It's to benefit students who are a member of the Spectrum group. And it's for gay, straight, trans, allies, whole wide open to people who want to support LGBTQ issues. And we've awarded it every year since 2011. The endowment's growing. Interestingly, the church that we go to, they periodically take up a collection for that scholarship. We have friends who've donated to it. Rick and I continue to donate to that scholarship. And I think it's been a really good thing. It was the first LGBTQ scholarship here on campus. And it's something that was missing. And so we're happy that students are now benefiting from it. So, yeah.
So Aaron has some questions, he says. Well, they came to him. The first question is, Rick, and you've said a little bit, will there be a restructure made within the two divisions?
A restructure of our current folks. I think you and I had a text about this the other day, and neither one of us are planning anything like that. I mean, I don't know. There could possibly be something that could happen in the future, but that would not be done just by me or just by Terry. We'd be working together, and all of you, to make sure that you would understand how you were impacted. But at the moment, we're not even thinking about that, so not planning on anything.
Another question that came up is what are the budget implications of this change?
Not anything. Neither one of us are losing resources of our current budgets. I think there's opportunities to leverage each of our resources. And I was talking to Terry about this earlier. I'm going to send her, like I do all of my folks, a 5-year budget planning tool for all of you to work with Terry on to determine your priorities over the next 5 years, so we can know what those are, even though sometimes we can't fund them. It's still, I've learned a long time ago that nothing gets funded unless it's identified as a priority, and there's a rationale for that. And even in lean years, we've been able to make some changes. We have actually helped fund some things out of academic affairs and student affairs. It's probably going to come more from our area into student affairs and vice versa, because Terry's right, she doesn't have a large budget. And you all know a lot of your budget comes from student fees, and that's becoming more of a challenge. So, but I do think if there's more than just Terry advocating for her area, that helps. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's what I think is the real benefit, Rick, is that, together we can advocate stronger than advocate for issues separately. And so I think there are going to be some long-term benefits from us working together in this way. Because I don't know if you folks know it, but Rick usually gets what he wants. And so if we have something from us that's on his agenda, then we have a better sense of getting it. So I'm looking forward to that. We've got a new question from Johnny. So she says, I know these town halls started due to COVID-19, but I feel more informed than ever because of these. Do you anticipate these town halls continuing, Rick?
Well, this town hall is specific to student affairs, so yeah, I'd be happy to work with Terry on that. And I agree, this provides people an opportunity to engage, I think, a little better. It's easier, you don't have to go anywhere. Now, I think it's always better to have things face to face or in person. But yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I do think that the town halls at the university level that we've been having, that we've been alternating with faculty and staff and students, those will continue for the foreseeable future. So Johnny, yeah, I think this is a good idea, and it's an easy way to get together.
You know, the leadership group after we left was, I'd like us to have a conversation about what have we learned through COVID-19? You know, how do we think differently about work, and how do we, I think that there are some benefits that we'll see that right now we can't because we're in the midst of it, but sometime later for us all to have that kind of conversation about how do we change now based on COVID-19 for the better, for good. We have a new question from Tia, which says there's a history of faculty not understanding, valuing the work of student affairs. How do you see yourself advocating for the work we do, and what opportunities for partnerships do you see?
Yeah, Tia, before I answer that question, I just want to follow up on something that Terry said. So today I was on a panel for the annual Blackboard conference. It's a big conference that usually is in Washington, D.C. this time of year, but obviously it was virtual, and so I was on a panel today. And what Terry just said about what have we learned with COVID and how has that changed, you know, what we do or what we're thinking we're going to do or what we need to plan for, that would be a good thing that Terry and I actually could do together. I have all the questions answered, and some of the answers I got from Terry earlier this week about some impacts in student affairs. So I think that would be a good idea. So Terry, I don't know what you think about that, but
I do too.
yeah. Yes. So what is a little bit about the history of faculty not understanding or valuing the work in student affairs? I would say, first of all, not valuing that. I'm not so sure it's that they don't value it, is that they don't understand exactly what you all have to offer and the magnitude of what you have to offer. You know, we've actually, I think, made some improvements over that with our first year seminar and making sure that faculty involve student affairs engagement kind of activities in that course, and it's a requirement that they engage. So that, and you know that first year seminar is going to be a requirement for every incoming student starting fall 21, but many sections are already available and we've already rolled those out. So we're getting real close to all of our students being enrolled in the first year seminar. So there's opportunity there to actually make that better than it is with that course. And that, to me, that has always been sort of something that I've been interested in. And that goes back to when we developed the leadership certificate and giving students credit for their leadership activities that they've engaged in student affairs. I haven't looked at that in a while. It'd be nice to see how many students have actually taken us up on that. But I think there's also opportunities to do that in service learning and civic engagement and other areas that you all are involved in programming. I think there's opportunities for some diversity and inclusion kind of work as well that can count towards a certificate. And so the whole idea is for students to be able to get academic credit for the work that you all are doing with them. So I think there's more that can be done there. So and we have a call for it. We started it already. So it's not something that is foreign to people.
A question that says, how does this change impact the student service functions of academic affairs? Could there be a merger?
Can you say that? I didn't hear the first part of the question, Terry.
How does this change impact the student service functions of academic affairs? Could there be a merger?
Like, give me an example of student services.
So orientation, first year programs. We
Yeah.
could even financial aid at some institutions is a student service area.
Yeah, well, you know that before we implemented our SIM plan, this is before Terry became vice president here, financial aid and undergraduate admissions, what else? Orientation programs, that was in student affairs. I'm probably missing some other ones too. And Terry and I talked about this before, and in terms of all of these programs that are getting students from application to enrollment, I think it's important that they stay in this SIM area. Even though that's in academic affairs, it's its own division, not technically like you call student affairs division, but it is operating. There's 10 offices that operate now together. And I think, and we've had lots of growth in our enrollment. And I hate to alter that in any way. At this point, there might be some things that we can think about tweaking. Because my thing is that it's not broken, let's not try to fix something. In the past, there was some gaps, but now we're all working together, we have really had, but record freshman enrollment and gains in all kinds of different areas that we haven't had before. So, and that's because it's coordinated and people are working together. So I don't see any changes in that. Again, this is going to have to take time and see, and Terry and I are talking through things and see where we could create some efficiencies, free up some of your time, let us take over some stuff that you guys can focus on more. I'm open to all that.
Yeah. Another question was, do you see any redundant services?
Say that again?
Do you see any redundancy in services?
Redundancy in services.
Yeah, between some of the student services that you have in academic affairs and the ones that I have in student affairs.
Like tutoring and stuff like that?
Could be, yeah.
Well, I mean, tutoring is one that's redundant, but is that a bad thing for tutoring? I mean, and I know that Alicia Sanchez and her staff is working closely with Kim Sandlin and her staff on tutoring, and other colleges who offer different tutoring. To me, what for tutoring is a little kind of different, and there's generalized tutoring, which Kim Sandlin is more focused around that. Specialized tutoring, which I would say ODI is focused around. Engineering has specialized tutoring as well. I think that kind of works because students can identify within their own areas of interest. So there might be some other things that, again, this is going to take some time for us to talk through and think about.
I can feel you had this great plan that you were going to reorganize affairs, and you've made it very clear that you don't have that in mind, that you don't imagine having some top-down kind of decisions that you're going to make about changing things, and that's, I think, important for folks to hear from you, and you've said that.
No, that doesn't work, and it just causes resentment. And if there are things that we believe that we need to do, we'll be doing it together, making that decision together.
Yep. What kind of other questions or concerns do you folks have? You know that Rick likes to two-step, don't you?
I like to what?
Two-step.
Yeah, I'm not good at that. But growing up in Texas, that's what you got to do down there.
What's that Cotton Eye Joe thing that you were doing?
Yeah, I can do the Cotton Eye Joe pretty good. Larissa Jenin has a video of me doing that.
Yeah, blackmail material.
Yeah.
So are there other questions? We don't need to stick around if you feel good about it. You folks know me that I'm a honest kind of person. If I had concerns, I'd say it. I would have said it before now, but I think in the long run, this partnership, us working even more, Rick and I were meeting together every 2 weeks anyway, and so we'll continue that. Actually, I'm going to meet with him less now that I'm a direct report than I was when I was not. So I just think that this is going to be good for us. And if I didn't believe it, I wouldn't say it, but it's going to be good. Looks like we've got some offers to go to Boot Scootin' Shockers on Copperhead Road.
Where is that?
I have no idea. But the student involvement staff know all these things.
Yeah, well, whenever that opens up, we'll have to do that.
Yep, that's a student organization.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what Copperhead Road means. Rainey, what is Copperhead Road there for? Is that a place where people go boot scooting? I don't know.
Well, I just, one final thing here, I really appreciate all the work that you all have been doing, especially during COVID. I know that's been stressful because I feel the stress every day, and I'm not on the ground floor like you are. I'm dealing with students and some really difficult issues, and so I so much appreciate that, and I know that the students appreciate it, and I know the faculty appreciate it as well. So thank you for doing that, and I wish that we could get back to campus a little sooner, but we need to be safe about that and smart about that. And I want to give a shout out to one of your folks, Camille Childers, who is in her staff, who has been just awesome in her support to the university. She's done a great job, and even though I started my time in healthcare, I think Camille knows a lot more than I do about stuff. Particularly about COVID-19, public health, nursing, and public health just in general. So I think you got a real gem there, and all of the folks that have been providing mental health and healthcare related services. That's very key to our student success, as you know. So I appreciate that as well.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
I'm proud of it. Well, it looks like student involvement has a dance they'd like to teach us, Rick. So we'll see if that ever comes to pass.
Yeah.
But while I have you all here, I want to just make sure that you take some time this summer to get some rest and to recover and take care of yourselves, because I think the fall is going to be busy, as it always is. And so just please take care of yourself, and thanks for participating with Rick and I today, and hopefully you'll see us together again sometime. So take care of yourselves. Thanks, Rick.
Bye. Thank you all.